Hello guys, happy new year. Welcome to this video. Today we are reading a book which is Napoleon Hill, The Golden Rule of Success. Without wasting any time, let's start at reading from chapter 1. What you need to know. Before starting, I want to tell you something that we will read at least 3 pages. Uh, we'll try to complete the first chapter, but we'll try to read 1 or 2 pages in every video. So let's start. What you need to know. The first thing you need to know is how to make sense of the opening passage of Napoleon Hill's first story, The End of the Rainbow. Hill introducing this article with a statement that would have been completely understood by his local readers at the time, but will leave modern readers scratching their heads in puzzlement. Hill begins with somewhat grandiose announcement that this story is going to be retelling of the dramatic turning points in the previous 12 years of his life. Then, in the very next sentence, he says that he isn't going to tell everything because he has been warned by his friend to leave out the final part of the story. What on earth is he talking about? The answer is that he's talking about a scandal that took place a year earlier, and to appreciate why this was so important to him, you must first know that Napoleon Hill's magazine, in which this article appeared, was not Hill's first magazine. It was his second, and the scandal that is so critical rather to involve his authors as publisher of the first one. The first magazine was called Hill's Golden Rule, and it was born in Napoleon Hill's mind on Arithmetic Day, November 11, 1918. The end of the World War so inspired Hill that he vowed that day to create a new magazine to promote the philosophy of the Golden Rule in personal achievement and business success. He found a printer who shared his vision, and in January 1919, they published the first edition. It was an instant success. To Hill, it seemed that this magazine was a fulfillment of everything he had dreamed and worked for. It gave him a national platform for the secrets of success he had learned from his years of researching the most successful man in America, and it also knowed him to teach the lesson he had learned from his own business triumphs and failures. Hill's Golden Rule was in every way an extension of him, his talent, his philosophy, and his passion. Then, in the late summer of 1920, Napoleon Hill discovered that his partner had gone behind his back and contrived to seize control of the magazine. At the first partner offered to pay Hill off, he would sign an agreement promising to get out of publishing. Hill refused. But when the October issue came out, he saw that his name had been removed from the masthead. He was devastated for about a month. Then he got mad. Then he got even. Within 2 months, Hill moved from Chicago to New York City and raised enough money to launch a new publication, Napoleon Hill's magazine. The first issue hit the stands in April, and by the time the End of the Rainbow article appeared in the September issue, it was clear that he had accomplished the most unheard of feat of launching a magazine that would be profitable in its first year. The publication of this article marked the 1 year anniversary of Napoleon Hill being removed from Hill's Golden Rule, and that explained what Hill being so cryptic about what he wrote the opening passage to, The End of the Rainbow. Chapter 3, a personal inventory, is reprinted from the December 1919 issue of Hill's Golden Rule. In the first paragraph on page number 52 of this book, you'll see a familiar word spelled in an unfamiliar way, culture. At the Hill time wrote the story, it had been barely a year since the end of the war, and culture was a term that appeared often in newspaper stories during the war with Germany. To the German elite, culture means their sense of national pride and belief in Germany's natural superiority over the other peoples and nations, as well as a belief in the subordination of the individual to those states. In that same paragraph, there is another reference that may elude some readers. He refers to standing at the grave rites of John Barleycorn. John Barleycorn was a common term for whiskey and other alcoholic drinks, and by laying him away. Hill is referring to the ratification earlier that year of 18th attempt at the Volstead Act, which would establish prohibition in the United States commencing the month on January 16, 1920. In chapter 4, When a Man Loves His Work, reprinted from the October 1921 issue of Napoleon Hill's magazine, Hill mentioned Samuel Gompers, who, as president of the American Federation of Labor, was very much in the news of the day. In the same story, Hill predicts that President Harding will send in US troops to settle the West Virginia mine wars. Hill's prediction was right. Harding did send in army troops, including an air squadron led by war hero Betty Michael. This confrontation was a culmination of a conflict that had gone on since the turn of the century because labor organizers and the mine owners who refused to allow their mines to be unionized. The ensuing conflict, known as the Battle of Blair Mountain, lasted about 5 days, and in the end of those strikers who surrendered were sent home, while a number of the strike leaders were tried and jailed. Although Blair Mountain did not end the labor problems that plagued that cold region of West Virginia, the action of President Harding brought things to a head and forced the owners and the miners to seek less volatile peace to resolve their difference. In Chapter 5, Initiative, reprinted from the August 1921 Napoleon Hill's magazine, Hill makes a reference to having taken a flight at Thomas Edison test questions. What he is referring to is a questionnaire created by Thomas Edison as a test for anyone who wanted to apply for a job as a manager at his company. When the New York Times ran a story about the test, it became the talk of the town, and everybody, including Hill, was trying it out to see how well they do. There were 150 questions covering everything from math and science to current events and personal habits. Applications were given 2 hours to answer the sheets, and most got a failing grade, including Edison's son, Theodore, who was an MIT graduate in physics. In Chapter 6, Permanent Success, reprinted from the April 1921 Napoleon Hill's magazine, Hill writes about Abraham Lincoln's humble birth and the hardships he endured growing up. In his comments, Hill mentioned the name Nancy Hanks without explanation, knowing that his readers would immediately know who she was. But times have changed, and what people learn in school these days has changed even more. So it may be that the modern reader is not as well versed in American history as was common in Hill's day life. If that is so, you heard it here first. Nancy Hank was Abraham Lincoln's mother. She died October 5, 1818, when Eve was 9 years of age. His father was remarried a year later to Sarah Bush Johnson Lincoln. Later in the article, Napoleon Hill comments on a young man born of wealth and privilege who is a victim of disease. Once again, like Joel Barleycorn, this may be a colloquial term that has been replaced by more contemporary recovery speak. So allow us to introduce you to the old-fashioned delirium tremens, commonly known as the disease, the shakes, or the trembling madness. The deities are hallucination accompanied by bodily shaking that occurs during withdrawal from chronic alcoholism. The only other reference that may need comment occur in chapter 8, The Power of Organized Effort, when Napoleon Hill is alluding to politicians who start out poor but end up in Washington with a lot of cash. He describes such a person as someone who suddenly blossomed off race. A la Packard implies that the man can now afford to drive a Packard, which for the edification of younger readers was the most upscale of American luxury automobiles in 1921. The magazine stories and articles that make up this book are excerpted from issues of Hill's Golden Rule published between Feb 1919 and August 1920, an issue of Napoleon Hill's magazine published between April 1921 and September 1923. Preceding each of the major stories is a reprint of the cover of the edition that item is taken from. As you will have discovered by the time you come to the second story, these items do not follow one another in chronological order, but rather have been arranged by subject in order to provide comparison overview of Napoleon Hill's philosophy. As to the literary scale and content, the intent of this book is to give you the chance to see what Napoleon Hill was like when he was the first hitting his stride. So we have made no attempt to update or modernize the stories and articles in any way. Specifically, we have left such thing as Hill's use of he, him, and his as generic term just as he wrote it. Similarly, we have not altered his of man or mankind. When referring to human in general, and we have not converted Hill's references to money. However, you would like to know what those amounts mean today. As a rule of thumb, you can assume that $1,000 in 1920 would be comparable to approximately $11,000 in 2007. We close this introductory chapter with an item exported and adapted from the bestseller Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, which was co-authorized by Napoleon Hill with his friend partner W. Carmichael, shown almost 40 years after the door closed on Hill's magazine. It is called How to Get the Most Reading from This Book, and some version of it appeared in his most publications of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. How to get the most from reading this book. When you read, concentrate. Read as if the author was a close personal friend and were writing to you, and you alone. Spend a few minutes each day studying the principle and the concepts contained in each article in Napoleon Hill's own words. Set aside a specific time each day, at least 15 minutes to be spent reading and reflecting on how the things you have learned or the ideas you received can be applied in your own life. Choose a time when you are relaxed and your mind is receptive, and do it every day, never allowing yourself to spectate if possible. Use a pencil to underscore in the book and also jot down on the piece of paper any flashes of inspiration, ideas, techniques, or answers to problem you discover while reading. The R2 or A2 formula. Know what you are looking for. Commit yourself to recognizing, relating, assimilating, and applying the principal techniques and ideas this book will provide to you. Your ability to use this formula will give you the key to open any door, meet any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and achieve wealth, happiness, and the true riches of life. Recognize. Identify the principal idea or technique that is being used. It helps someone else. I can see the results, and it will work for me if I use it. Relate. It is most important that you relate each concept to yourself and to your own action and thoughts. Ask yourself, what will the success principle, idea, or technique do for me? Assimilate. Ask yourself, how can I use this principle, idea, or technique to achieve my goal or solve my problem? Apply. What action will I take? What am I going to start? Then follow through with action. Each ingredient in this formula is important. Each has special meaning and when combined will lead you to success. By using this formula, you will be able to focus your thinking to direct and guide you to achieve your objectives and your definite major goals in life. Worthwhile mental exercises. After reading each article, ask yourself what ideas, principles, techniques, or formulas you discovered from it. How can you use each to adjust your behavior so it will become a part of you and help you to reach your personal objectives? What action will you take and when will you start? So, thank you for watching and listening this video, and we have completed the first chapter. Tomorrow or one day later we will read the next chapter, the end of the rainbow of this book. So I'd like to say you, if you like this video, you I want to say, if you got any information related to your problems, your daily life, then like, comment, share and subscribe. So thanks for watching this video. Bye bye and happy new year.